Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Open Mic, and I am your host, John Campea. Now, every day, of course, on the John Campea Show, that's our main show in the mornings. We take a little bit of time to get to some live questions, but here on Open Mic, that's all we do, just all live questions the whole way through. And it's a pleasure to have you guys joining me here today. We've already got a whole bunch of questions lined up in the board, so let's hop right to it. And the first live question today comes to us from Daryl Best Wadley, who writes, "Why didn't you tell me Supernatural was so funny? I'm 4 seasons in, and I think Dean Winchester is one of the funniest characters on TV." Oh no, that's absolutely. It's one of the big charms of Supernatural, and one of the reasons why Supernatural has honestly been one of my favorite shows for years. I've enjoyed this show so much. I love the characters. And here's the thing, as you get deeper into the show, and as you become more and more familiar with the characters. Like once you start to get to know Sam and Dean and Cass and Bobby, and once you get to know them more and more and more, the humor starts to hit home a little bit more, because a lot of the humor in the show is very targeted to the nuance of who the characters are and what they would say and who they would say it to and all that kind of stuff, right? So when you first watch Supernatural, you'll pick up on some of the humor and it's funny. But when you really get to know Supernatural, that's when the humor really starts to hit home. And I'm glad you've been enjoying it, Daryl, a lot, because I find it a very funny show too. All right, Bruce Wayne writes, was Palpatine rescue a setup in episode 3? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it was. I mean, look who was holding him hostage, right? Look who was holding him hostage. Dooku, his apprentice, was holding him hostage. So yeah, I think I don't think Dooku knew he was about to get killed. I don't think he knew that Palpatine was going to turn Anakin on him to kill him. But yeah, it was absolutely a setup. I mean, I suppose there's some kind of a chance that Dooku wasn't in on it. But yeah, there's no doubt. That was absolutely a setup, no doubt. Bruce Wayne follows up. Over under 15% episode title and or trailer in 2018. I'm assuming you mean episode 9, as in Star Wars episode 9. I will go under. On that thing. As a matter of fact, I think first trailer will come out. I think it's next summer. Star Wars Celebration. Chicago. When is it? I believe it's in 2019, is it not? April 11th through 15th. Okay, so you know what? If I'm looking at that properly, yeah, 11th through 15th in Chicago. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that, but is it 2019 or is it 2020? Hold on a second. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's 2019, in April 2019. So April, yeah, I bet we are not going to get our first trailer for Star Wars Episode 9 until Star Wars Celebration in mid-April. It just seems like that makes the most sense. We may have our title before then, but I don't think we're getting our first taste of even a teaser trailer until Star Wars Celebration in April. As far as the title goes, nah, I don't think so either. So, yeah, even though you're setting the bar pretty low at 15%, I'm going to take the under on both of those. I think it's under 15% that we're going to get a title. I think it's under 5% that we're going to get a trailer in the calendar year of 2018. Adamus95 writes, have you seen the new Ducktales reboot on Disney? And if so, what do you think? David Tennant is a great Scrooge McDuck. Nah, that's a little outside my demographics. No, I haven't seen the new Ducktales. Trevor Johnson writes, heard of Affleck going back? Oh, yes. Heard of Affleck going back into rehab. Do you think his struggles have anything to do with the Batman slow? Oh, no. With the Batman slow grind? No. And then he follows it up. As someone in alcohol recovery, my heart goes out to him and his family, and his health is obviously more important than a movie. Oh, absolutely. There's a heartbreaking image, actually. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't want to say a good thing, but if there is any good things to be drawn out of this, which I thought was nice. I think Jennifer Garner, his ex-wife, really don't think Ben Affleck cares about the Batman situation anymore, to be quite frank with you. I think he used to love the Batman thing, but with all the stuff that went on at Warner Brothers, all that kind of stuff, but that was a long time ago. Ben Affleck has struggled with substance abuse stuff for a while, whether it's alcohol or whatever. He struggled with it for a while. I don't think this has anything to do with the Batman stuff, any more than any other work stuff that he has or that he does or that he's involved in, right? I don't think it has anything more to do with it than any other job or any other thing that he does for work. I just don't think there's a connection. What does this do moving forward? It's a good question. I think, and I am completely unqualified, so I'm just saying this out loud because I'm talking, but my opinion means squat here, okay? That being said, what I would like to see him do is just take a year off. Just take a year or more off. Just don't, he's supposed to be getting ready to shoot this new movie now that's not Warner Brothers related. He's supposed to be doing Accountant 2. He's supposed to be directing this other film coming up. I think he should just take a full year off. Go away. Go to Hawaii. Go to the Caribbean. Go somewhere where you can kick back and the only thing you got to worry about is, what am I going to have for breakfast today? Just go, relax, have some family or friends go with you or rotate in and out. You got all the money in the world. Just go, get away from it all, relax, get healthy. That's all that matters. Fuck Batman. Fuck all these other movies. Get healthy. That's all that matters. Because Ben Affleck, as a film fan, Forget even as a human being. As a film fan, Ben Affleck has an awful lot left to offer us, both as an actor and especially as a director. And just speaking selfishly as a film fan, I would love to see just go, get healthy, take a year, hell, take 2 years off. Take 2 years off. Get healthy, get a support structure around you, and then, if you feel like it, then come back. With whatever you do, don't rush it. Don't rush anything. Oh, I got to get this rehab thing done in 5 weeks because I got to go shoot a movie. Screw all that. Screw all that. Most important thing is your health, dude. Go get healthy. Then come back. Or don't. Whatever is best for you. That's the important thing here. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of ramifications this has on other things going forward, but that's all secondary. Primary thing, dude's got to get healthy. Let's all hope he gets healthy. Let's see. And by the way, Trevor, thank you for sharing that about yourself because that adds relevance to the topic. So I really appreciate you sharing that, man. All right. Jill Kinniston writes, thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale? Gasp moments. I'm loving it. Look, seriously, I was late to the game on Handmaid's Tale. And then Ann and I started watching Handmaid's Tale season 1 just before season 3 started. First episode, okay. Well, everybody's talking about it. Let's give it another shot. Let's give it another episode. And the next episode, by the end of the third episode, we were hooked. By the end of the third episode, we were completely hooked. And funny story, this is a completely true story. So Ann and I are watching. It's one of the very few shows that Ann and I make sure we watch together. We each have shows we watch on our own. But Handmaid's Tale is one of the few shows that we have that, hey, don't watch the next episode. We only watch them together. And there was an episode this season that we thought was the last episode. It was the episode where she gets stranded in that house in the middle of nowhere. And we were like, oh, well, that's quite a cliffhanger for the season finale. And it wasn't until 3 weeks later that we realized, wait a minute, that wasn't the season finale. There were still 2 episodes left. And then by the time we realized that, she was off on a business trip in Rhode Island, and we had to wait another couple weeks for her to come home and then catch up on the final 2 episodes. I love The Handmaid's Tale. I think it's great television. I've been adoring it. And I can't wait for the next season to start. All right, next one. Comes to us from Javier Riaz, 405, who writes, what's your favorite Will Smith movie? Favorite Will Smith movie? Honestly, it's probably Independence Day. Will Smith has a number of very, very good movies and very entertaining movies. But honestly, when it comes right down to it, just on a pure entertainment level, It's probably Independence Day. Yeah, you got a lot of other big Will Smith ones, but I'm probably going to go Independence Day. Now, I know a lot of people will say like one of the Bad Boys. A lot of people say Ali, which he got nominated for an Academy Award for. A lot of people like I Am Legend. A lot of people like The Pursuit of Happiness. A lot of people like, a lot of films that he's done. But, or Men in Black, whatever. But it's probably always going to be Independence Day for me. I remember I saw the movie 7 times in theaters. I just got such a kick out of it. Will Smith's great in it. So I'm not saying it's his best performance. That's probably saved for like, an Ali or something like that. 7 Pounds, Pursuit of Happiness, things like that. But it is my favorite movie of his. So I'm going to stick with that. Let's see. Donaldo Martinez writes, thoughts on A Clockwork Orange? Just watch it today. Kind of bizarre, but it's a classic. I mean, it's like Clockwork Orange is like one of those movies that's kind of like asking, what do you think about The Godfather? Well, it's all-time classic. Clockwork Orange is an all-time classic. It is, however, though, Donaldo, and I think you'll probably agree with me on this. It's one of those all-time classics that is not necessarily for everybody. I've never met a single person that didn't like The Godfather, but I've met people and talked to people who didn't like Clockwork Orange. Sure, it is a little weird. It's a little trippy. But overall, it's like one of the all-time most revered classics of all time. I love it. I think it's great. Okay. Dead Dog Productions writes, did you catch the second trailer for Suspiria? Love the original one. I think you probably mean love. Love the original one. Can't wait for the new one. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't like it. I did not like the first trailer. I don't like the second trailer. Here's the thing. I think anybody can make a trailer that's, oh, look how strange this is, and not really say anything, right? And that's kind of how I take these trailers. They honestly have not done anything for me to move the needle. It's funny because I was looking at Robert Meyer Burnett. By the way, if you haven't caught our latest episode of The Weekly Hero, it went up last night. It's on the website right now. Make sure you go check it out. We had a great time talking about this Darth Vader and Tarkin hot toys that he has. Oh, so good. Anyway, I noticed Robert Meyer Burnett tweeted today about the Suspiria trailer. And he loved it. He's like, oh, this is now my most anticipated movie of the year. And I look at the trailer, I'm like, there's nothing to it. It's just look how weird it is. I mean, like, anybody can do that. But whatever. A lot of people are loving it. A lot of people are eating up. I'll be the odd man out in this one. I'll be honest with you, the trailers haven't done anything for me personally. But I know a lot of people who are very smart that are loving the trailers. And let's see how the movie turns out. Okay. Nathan Oswald writes, over under 20%, the dusted characters are legit dead. I don't know what you mean by that. Like, do you mean they're legit dead as if they're not coming back? Like legit dead? Or do you mean legit dead like the characters are dead? They're not just, sitting in some alternate dimension. If you mean, are they legit dead that they're not coming back? Oh, I'll take the under. They're all coming back. I mean, we know they're coming back. There's another Black Panther movie coming. There's another Doctor Strange movie coming. There's another Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming. There's obviously a Spider-Man movie coming in just a little while. So clearly, they're all coming back. If you mean legit dead as in they're dead, oh yeah, they're dead. They're dead. Their bodies disintegrated and they turned into dust. They're dead. I mean, look, anything is possible for sure. There are several things in movies that I've gone, they'll never do that. And then they do. So always leave room for the possibilities. But I don't understand this philosophy. He didn't kill them. They just transported to another dimension. There is nothing to support that. There is nothing to support that. And then even some people try to grasp with a straw. But little Gamora, when he snapped his fingers, he went into a different dimension inside the Soul Stone and he saw Gamora. But if you watch the director's commentary, the Russo brothers say directly in the commentary, that's just a visual representation of her and he's really kind of having a fever dream. Like the Russos point out that wasn't actually her. It was it was a representation of her in some kind of fever dream that he was having. That's just what's going on inside of his head. So I reject the notion that they're just all just kind of standing around in some kind of alternate dimension. No, wiped them out, killed them. Their bodies turned to ash and they died. So, I mean, but again, anything is possible in this stuff. Who knows? But I think, yes, there absolutely are legit dead. I'll take the over 20%. I'll take over 70% on that they are legit dead. Sebastian writes, too little, too late, dude. Top Gun 2 will be awesome. Yeah, maybe. I'm hoping for something awesome. But will the general movie-going audience rush out to see it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It might be a little too late. They waited too long to do a Top Gun 2. Tony Scott, God rest his soul. Tony Scott had visions of doing this movie ages ago. And it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. Now, that doesn't mean the movie's not going to be great. It might be great, sure. I'm just saying, in terms of too little, too late, I just wonder if... I just don't know that the nostalgia factor is going to be there for most people like it is for me. You know? I'm going to rush out to see it, but I'm not so sure a lot of people are. That's where the too little, too late thing comes in. So maybe the movie would be great, but that doesn't mean people are going to rush out to see it. I'm simply saying I don't know. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they won't. I'm saying it's a question mark for me because I can't help but wonder if it's a little too late. That's all I'm saying. All right. Next one. Nathan Oswald writes, did you ever watch Bonanza? Yeah, when I was a little kid, my parents would have reruns of Bonanza on. Good Canadian kid Lorne Greene was in that. Admiral Adama. That's pretty cool. When you think about Lorne Greene, he was the lead guy in two iconic television shows of completely different genres, Bonanza and Battlestar Galactica. So, that's pretty impressive. But I saw a couple episodes on reruns when I was a little kid that my parents would put on. Kevin Kamaki writes, I want it that way. Are you quoting, some boy band? I want it that way. If that's it, if it's from a movie, I'm not sure what it is we're talking about. But yeah, I think you might be quoting a boy band. Luke1234 writes, in Avengers 4, I'd like to see the benefits of the snap. World hunger is gone. Good paying jobs are in excess. Half of all diseases are gone. Thoughts? Well, it depends. I also think the sudden disappearance of half the people in the world could lead to complete social collapse. There's also a very interesting angle to play here that the fulfillment of Thanos' vision was actually the exact opposite of what he thought it would do. Because the reality is, if half the people on the planet disappeared today, there is a very good chance we would have a complete societal collapse. There would be complete rioting, anarchy, government devolving, everything going to hell. It could lead to an apocalyptic kind of world. Yes, there is the ideology that Thanos says, no, if I do it, everything will be great. Well, I think it would also be interesting to show that the exact opposite happens, that the whole world goes to hell. Let's put it this way. One way or the other, whether it's for positive things or for negative things, I do hope they take a few moments to show the world and the state the world is in as a result of the snap. Whether that's the euphoric vision that Thanos had, or whether it's the complete opposite of what Thanos thought would happen, and it actually leads to a world in ruin and completely falling apart. I would be down for them showing either of those, and just at least take a few moments to explore that the world's not just the same. The world has changed, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. But it'll be interesting to see which way they go with that. Nathan Oswald says, stay cool, Bird Boy, more Batman and Robin quotes. Ben Hayusa writes, I think I'm going to guess you mean Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix was interviewed on the pressure of playing the Joker. He said, I don't really think that much about what people think. My approach to movies are the same. What I'm interested in is the filmmaker and the idea of the character. Yeah, and that's pretty consistent with Joaquin Phoenix said before. Joaquin Phoenix talked about a month ago, I guess, a little over a month ago, about his approach, his excitement, the fact that the character scares him. He's terrified about playing this character. All that kind of stuff all kind of speaks to the same thing. He is a uniquely focused performer. He is an incredibly uniquely focused performer. And, you know, dude's kind of a master at his art. He really is. And he's really focused in on the character, the script, talking with the director, and he's on board. You know, Joaquin Phoenix is a type of actor who just doesn't take a lot of gigs. He's very selective in his gigs. He wants very challenging roles. He wants good scripts and good stories. And he doesn't always pick the best ones, but for the most part, he usually picks some pretty damn good ones. And the fact that he stepped up and took this role, I think says a lot about the potential of the movie. I think it speaks volumes about the potential of this movie that a Joaquin Phoenix, understanding the process now there are other actors who are picky about their roles. Tom Hardy, for example, is notoriously picky about which movies he will get involved in. So that's why I think that's a pretty not that is a guarantee it's going to be a good movie, but it's at least a positive sign for the potential of Venom. Joaquin Phoenix is on another level. Like, Joaquin Phoenix has this whole process he has about choosing which roles he's going to play. And he usually plays some pretty damn challenging roles. Like, even if you just look back this past year to You Were Never Really Here, is crazy good. And his performance is psychotically good, but that's his process. So a lot of people just kind of looking, oh, a Joker movie. I'm like, oh my God, Joaquin Phoenix chose to be in this? What the hell? I want to read this script. I want to read this script. I want to see what it is that actually got a Joaquin Phoenix to say, yes, I'll play this. To me, that's intriguing. Because we know Joaquin Phoenix isn't just running around looking for paydays in a comic book movie, because he could have been Doctor Strange if he wanted to be, but he turned it down. Instead, he's going for this Joker thing. To me, that's intriguing. Very intriguing. And like I said, very consistent, Ben, with all the stuff that you're pointing out here about his recent comments completely in line with that philosophy he seems to have. Sebastian writes, USA and Canada, what's the best of each? Only positives. That's way too big of a topic, Sebastian. Talk about all the positive things about America and all the positive things about Canada. Way too big of a topic and kind of outside the scope of even open mics. So thanks for the question, but it's not really something I can sit here and talk about in 2 minutes, nor is it really within, talking about national identities. It's not really what I talk about here. But thank you for asking anyway. Trevor Johnson writes, in Man of Steel, I always got a sense that Martha was hurt when Clark came home and he tells her he found his parents. And that crib story was her saying, I've been here since you were a baby. Well, I think there's a lot of... that's the thing, Trevor, about Man of Steel. I think there is a lot of emotional nuance in that movie. I think there is a ton of emotional nuance in that movie that I think a lot of people missed on their first viewing. I find I talk to a lot of people, and I've had tons of these conversations. People who were like, I didn't like Man of Steel all that much the first time I saw it. But then I watched it again like last year. And it's like, hey, wait a minute. This is way better than I remember. Like, I'm having a lot of conversations with people like that. And I think your second time through, and I loved Man of Steel the first time I saw it. But every time I watch it, I like it more and more and more. And I think it's because I'm picking up on even more of the emotional nuance, little things I missed here and there, putting the pieces together, how one thing ties to the next. It is a beautifully done movie. And that's why, despite all the weird looks I get, I still contend that Man of Steel is one of the top 10 best comic book movies of all time. Of all time. And part of it is because with the dynamic of the characters, the fourth dimensional elements of the characters, the emotional nuance of the characters, it's just beautiful. It's really beautiful. Like that scene, first of all, there are several scenes between Clark and Jonathan, which are amazing. Then there are scenes between Martha and Clark that are beautiful. They handled the characters so well in that movie. And that one scene in and of itself is just another example of the emotional nuance of the film that I think is just one of the amazing elements of this movie. So I really appreciate that you picked that out and that you noticed that. Sebastian writes, cost to make movies is out of control. Is that rules or unions? Yeah, the cost of making movies is out of control these days. Like, when you get a movie like District 9 that they made for $30 million, big visual effects spectacle movie, they paid $30 million. I'm not saying every big visual effects spectacle movie can be made for $30 million. What I am saying is you don't need to make movies for $230 million. You do not need $230 million. And here's the thing, and this comes up all the time, but let me say it again here. People will often say to me, when I talk about the cost of movies being out of control, people say, well, John, why do you care? It's not your money they're spending. No, it is. Because here's the thing. You cannot say, who cares how much they spend on making the movies, and then complain about how much it costs to go to the movies, because the two are directly connected. The amount of money spiraling higher and higher and higher and higher when they don't need to, but the amount of money they're spending on making these movies, and they just have no cost controls. No cost. Again, when you can make District 9 for 30, don't tell me you couldn't have made the Avengers for 170. You could have made the Avengers for 170. You could have made the Avengers Infinity War for 150 million. You could have. You could have, and still had all that quality and not overpaid in 85 other areas and had better cost control. Because when Hollywood spends more and more and more and more and more to make their movies, that means they need to get back more and more and more and more. Which means they gotta, through a big systemic problem throughout the system, it trickles down and trickles down, then gets to theaters, and the theaters gotta charge more and more and more and more for tickets. Dear heavens, when I go to an AMC Prime theater, I'm spending $23 for a ticket. Well, not now because of my A-list, but before I got my A-list, I'm paying $23. And even if I just go see one of the regular screens, I'm paying $16 for one movie. Now, it's worth it to me, but the reason that price keeps going up is because the cost of making these damn movies keeps going up without rational reason. And it frustrates me when people say, on one hand, who cares how much they spend on making the money? It's not my money, but then complain about how much it costs going to the movies. You don't get to do both. Because the two are connected. It's a systemic problem. And more people need to wake up to that. More people need to wake up to that. Anyway, Jared Vester writes, I'm trying to figure out what movie to watch and I need help. I think I'm in the mood for a comedy movie. Dude, listen, it's not for everybody. I don't know you personally, but if you saw my review this morning, I thoroughly enjoy Happytime Murders. I do. I know it's getting trashed by a bunch of critics. Last time I checked, it was at like 24%. Let me just double check here where it's at right now. Happytime Murders, Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, let's see. Happytime Murders, All Sesame No Street. Oh, look, it's gone up a little bit. It's at 27% now. Okay, so a little over 1 out of every 4 critics are liking it, which means just a little under 3 out of every 4 critics are disliking it. There, you got to know that. So know that, but I liked it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really funny. And I thought it was a really good 80s style buddy cop movie with a decent little, for an 80s style buddy cop movie, with a decent little murder mystery thrown in there too. I think it's a very enjoyable film. It's not for everybody. Granted, I know it's not for everybody. Clearly from the critic ratings, you can see it's not for everybody. But I think it's a good movie. I had fun. And if you like the trailer, here's what I'll say. The trailer for Happytime Murders is very indicative of what the movie is. Therefore, if you are somebody that did not like the trailers for Happytime Murders, you'll probably want to take a pass on the movie. If you liked the trailer for Happytime Murders, I almost guarantee you're going to like the movie. Because the movie is a perfect representation, I should say the trailer is a perfect representation of the movie itself. You know, sometimes trailers aren't anything like the movies. This trailer is a perfect representation of what the movie is. Therefore, if you didn't like the trailer, I think the odds are you're not going to like the movie. If you like the trailer, I almost guarantee you're going to like the movie. So if you're looking for something to laugh in tonight, I'm going to recommend, despite what the other critics are saying, I'm going to recommend Happytime Murders. All right, let's move on here. KW Garrett 83 writes, settle the debate, John. Who is the best Chris? Hemsworth, Pine, Evans, or Pratt? If that's too vague, then best actor versus best filmography. I love Pratt. Oh, I love Pratt too. I wouldn't say Pratt would be the best out of them though. I love Chris Pratt. Love him. I mean, you guys have seen pictures with me and Chris. The dude's a great sport. He's super funny in person. I love the guy. That being said, I don't know that he has the dramatic range that any of the other three do. Like Hemsworth, oh my God, just watch Rush. I thought he legitimately could have gotten an Academy Award nomination for his performance in Rush. Pine? Are you kidding me? Pine, I mean, he's got a number of films that are just incredible, including a lot of smaller indie films that he's done that he's just incredible in. Evans, same thing with Evans. So while they're all great in comic book movies, I'd say like the other three Chris's probably have better dramatic range. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Hemsworth is probably the best actor out of the group. I think Hemsworth is probably overall the best actor in that group. But I love them all. I think Chris Evans is a solid, really solid actor. I think Chris Pine is probably an underappreciated actor. Like Chris Pine did all the heavy lifting in Wonder Woman. Chris Pine carried all the emotional stuff in Wonder Woman. That movie doesn't work nearly as well without him in there. Chris Evans has been a dynamic Captain America, and I think the heartbeat of the MCU, in my personal opinion. And Hemsworth is Hemsworth, but I like all four of these guys, love them all, but I'm going to guess that I think the best actor, like overall actor, out of the group is probably Hemsworth. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, your guys probably have different opinions, too. Jared Vester writes, I heard a rumor that in the next Fast and Furious movie, there will be a post-credits scene where Dom's Dodge Charger vanishes from the Thanos snap. Really? The car vanishes? Thus, introducing Dominic in the MCU, he will be the one to stop Thanos. So Dom doesn't disappear, just his Charger. And that puts Dominic Toretto, on the warpath to hunt down Thanos, because that Charger's part of his family. So he's got to go and get his family back. The only problem with that is, there's often a debate about overpowered characters. Dominic Toretto's too overpowered. I mean, so he's going to run in, throw one punch, and Thanos is going to crumple, right? So nobody wants to see Thanos crumple in one punch. Therefore, you can't have Dominic Toretto be in the MCU. That's the only flaw, Jared. It's the only flaw with your theory. It's just introducing a far too overpowered character into the MCU. Because then it's not even worth watching, right? Oh, Dominic Toretto's there. Well, clearly he's going to stop Thanos. Then it's not even worth watching. So that's the only flaw with your theory. Let's see here. What do we got next? Okay, here we go. Sebastian writes, M-Pass, I think you mean MoviePass. I was in charge of an all-you-can-eat buffet. One day, the kitchen couldn't keep up with the guests, and the guests knew it. They piled plates with food they couldn't eat. MoviePass is at 2 cents. I mean, that's actually a really good analogy. So MoviePass was basically the idea of, we're an all-you-can-eat buffet. Eat all you can eat. Everything that's available. Steak, lobster, shrimp, you name it. The finest Italian, the finest Mexican, the finest French, everything. All for $10. Meanwhile, the rest of the world said, well, that's a great deal, but you're never going to be able to keep your doors open with that. They're like, nonsense. We'll make the food distributors pay us a cut of their profits. But the food distributors said they wouldn't pay you part of their profits. No worry, we'll strong-arm them into it. We'll force them to give us a cut of their profits when they see how many people sign up for our buffet. That was the whole thing. And then soon enough, they didn't have any food to put out on the table. And yes, MoviePass is now down to 2 cents. 2 cents. Let's put this in perspective. Let me pull out the old calculator here. Now, MoviePass at one point was at $31 a share. But don't forget, recently they did a reverse split of 250 to 1. So they took 250 share. For every 250 shares, they squeezed it into one share. That means, if you retroact that the highest stock price back in October for MoviePass, after taking into consideration the 250 to 1 reverse stock split, MoviePass's stock in October was $7,750. All right? So in October, MoviePass's stock price, once you take the 250 to 1 reverse stock split into consideration, MoviePass's stock price was $7,750. And today, it's 2 cents. 2 cents. Swallow that. Swallow that. Because if you had, let me just do a little bit of math here, because it's fun. Let's say you are somebody who bought, because real investors buy real shares. Let's say you were somebody who had 1,000 shares, right? Let's say you had 1,000 shares, and that got reduced by 251. So you had 7,750. That got reduced down by 4. So you had invested $31,000. You invested $31,000. And now your stock is worth 8 cents. Wrap your head around that. Your $31,000 investment is now worth 8 cents. Oh my God. It's just kind of nuts. All right, let's move on here. On if C Stew 123 writes, Supernatural has the brotherly yearn that SOA has. I mean, there's truth to that. Like, one of the things that when I'm asked about Sons of Anarchy, I've said a million times, it's one of my top 3 favorite shows of all time. And when asked what's like the real element to it, one of the things that I think is the key element to the success is that, much like Entourage, Sons of Anarchy is lifestyle porn. But instead of an Entourage where the lifestyle porn is going to the Hollywood parties and living vicariously through these guys in the glamorous life of Hollywood, it's lifestyle porn in the sense of these men who live in an apparently unbreakable brotherhood, where you have unconditional loyalty to one another. I mean, there's something inside, I think, a lot of men, probably a lot of women too, but as a man, I'll just speak from the perspective of a man for a moment, that I think a lot of us men, deep down, we yearn for. We yearn to have that kind of brotherhood. You know what I mean? And I think that is something that really appealed to a lot of people. You can make an argument that Supernatural has a little bit of that as well, whereas you have 2 literal brothers, but their bond is completely unbreakable. There is an unquestionable loyalty there, right? Like, beyond any reproach, beyond life and death. And it has been beyond life and death. And I don't think it's a ridiculous notion to draw that comparison. Certainly it's not prevalent as much as it is in Sons of Anarchy, but I think there's an element of it. I do. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, So it looks like Big Bang Theory is finally ending next year. Yeah, and you know what? I've never liked the show. I've tried watching a few episodes of it. I found it to be a bunch of people who do not know nerd culture trying to make jokes about nerd culture. I didn't find it funny, whatever. But I know a lot of people who really love the show, and I'm happy that it's there for those people who like to enjoy it. I'm not one of these people like, I don't like that show, so I want it to disappear. Like, I'm not like that. If you like the show, that's great, and I'm happy it's there for you. And I'm sad for you that it's going to be disappearing. But look, a 12-year run for a television series, that's huge. Oh my God, that's huge. So, yeah, I feel a little bad that, I mean, not personally bad, but I feel bad that's disappearing for so many people who totally love that show. But hey, look, it's had a great run. It has cemented itself as one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. Not one of the best sitcoms of all time, but one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. It's established its place there. So, congrats to them. The show wasn't for me, which is fine, but congrats to them for this incredible run. And congrats to everybody who's enjoyed the show that's got to enjoy it for this long. Leo Milmet writes, finish the quote. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. You had to put that in there, Leo. Miguel Alejandro just sends in a $1 super chat to support. Thank you so much, Miguel. I appreciate that, man. John Harrison writes, hey, John, another movie that could make a good remake is James and the Giant Peach. I don't know. I was never big on the original. I don't know that it translates. I don't think there's a deeper hunger for a movie like that. I honestly don't know that it would have any more success today than it did originally. But I mean, you could. I mean, there's really not a lot of downside to trying it. So there's that. Again, not something I would put high on the list of potential for remakes, but I mean, hey, you never know. I mean, it's like a lot of times you can do these remakes and it'll surprise you. So who knows? Let's keep an open mind. Jeff Jones writes, fun speculation. All right, here we go. Big twist for M. Night's Glass. Mr. Glass and David Dunn are both just alternate personalities for James McAvoy's character. What a twist. Okay. Interesting. Jeff, that's actually a little kind of brilliant. Now, there is one big flaw. The one big flaw, of course, is that both Glass and Dunn were around when McAvoy's character was 10. Or like 11 or 12, right? So, now, that doesn't discount the possibility that maybe, yeah, that's fine. Unbreakable was a movie, blah, blah. But James McAvoy's just read about those stories, and now what's happening in Glass is just a manifestation of more personalities of his. That's all kinds of smart. That's actually really, really insightful kind of opinion. Again, the one thing that works against it is a pretty big thing, and that's the fact that, you know, both Glass and Dunn, they couldn't just be extensions of his personalities because he was like 10 or 12 at the time. I haven't done the math, but he was young, right? He was young, so he couldn't have really played that out, I don't think. But interesting idea. I like the way you're thinking outside the box, Jeff. I like that. All right. Adrian Avalar writes, hey, John, how are you? I'm having a good day. Thank you very much. Is it weird that I'm totally entertained by your rants about the CW Superman, for instance, even when I completely and utterly disagree? Anyway, have a good one. No, man, that's awesome because, look, I love a good argument or a good... Oh, dear. Sorry, guys. I have to keep my phone on just because my mom's situation right now. But it's not my mom calling, so I will ignore that for now. Yeah, I feel terrible, but obviously the last few months, I do keep my phone on. You guys know me. I don't like to have my phone on when doing shows, but for the last number of months, I keep my phone on. Just because if my mom ever tries to get a hold of me, I want to be able to answer it right away. Anyway. Look, just good arguments, good emotional, a good rant, whatever, too. I love them, even if it's not arguing a point of view that I agree with. Because, and I think this seems to be the way you look at it, Adrian, I love it if someone can just give a good, rant or argument that even if I don't agree with it, if it at least helps me understand the other point of view better. And that's why, like, somebody like Roger Ebert was my all-time favorite film critic. I disagreed with him maybe half the time, but the thing is, I always felt like I either agreed with him, or when I didn't, he helped me understand how somebody else would see things a different way. And I always felt I had a better understanding of different points of view by reading his stuff, even if it was things that I didn't agree with. And I find value in that. And I love it when people who are either my readers or my viewers or whatever approach that the same way. And I'm always trying to say that, right? Like, it's not my job to make you agree with me. And I don't measure my success, quote unquote success. I don't measure success by whether or not I convince you to agree with me or not. That's not what success is measured by. Not at all. I measure success, however small it is. I measure success by, if you watched me talk about a subject, does it further help you clarify and crystallize why you agree with me? Or, as equally valid, does it help you understand the opposing point of view, which in turns helps clarify why you disagree with me? As long as I can do one of those two things, that in my presentation of my opinions, if the presentation of my opinions can either make you feel like you have a better understanding about why you agree with me, or give you a better understanding about why you disagree with me, either one, if I can do that, then I'll consider that a success. And that's what I look for in other communicators. I don't look for somebody that I agree with all the time. I look for somebody that when I hear them present a point of view or an argument, whatever, that I know I'll walk away either better understanding why I agree or a better understanding about why I disagree. And if I can get either of those out of a communicator, then I can appreciate that communicator. So you seem to be the same type of person on that, Adrian, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much for the comment. I appreciate it, dude. Because don't get me wrong, I love hearing from people say, John, I agree with you so much. I love hearing that. Of course I do. I'm human. But I also love getting comments of, hey, Campea, I love listening to you talk, man. I disagree with you most of the time, but I still love watching your show. To me, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. So thank you for sharing that, man. I appreciate that. Leo Milmat writes, I don't like the MCU, but I succumbed to peer pressure today and watched Infinity War. First reactions? What is going on? Whoa, violence. Okay, I'll hand it to him. That wasn't too bad. Let Sam Jackson finish. Okay. And you know what? That's a really good testament to a movie. If a movie's a part of a franchise you don't really like, but you dug that movie, that says something about that movie. Yeah, look, Infinity War, I personally still don't put it in my top 3 favorite comic book movies of all time. To me, those 3, in whatever order you want to put them in, the 3 are, in no particular order, the original Avengers, Dark Knight, and Logan. Those, to me, are the 3 best comic book movies ever made. So Infinity War doesn't quite crack the top 3, but it is an exceptional movie that I think will appeal to even those who do not traditionally like comic book movies, and to those who don't, maybe more specifically, don't always like watching MCU movies. It is a MCU movie that non-MCU movie fans, I think even they can rally around and enjoy. I mean, it's a powerful film, and I love the fact, Leo, that we've got film fans like you who know what you like and know what you don't like, but you don't put up walls in your own brain and say, no, I'm not even going to watch that movie because I don't like anything about MCU. No, you're the type of film fan that goes, okay, I haven't liked the MCU movies, but I'll give this one a shot. And hey, I liked it. I'm not going to say I don't like it just because I don't like the other ones. I watched it and I liked it. I love the fact that you're that type of film fan. That's the type of film fan we need in our film fan community. All right, doesn't mean you have to like it, but if you do watch it and give it a chance and you do like it, you're not afraid to say, I enjoyed that. Even though traditionally I don't like those films, I enjoyed that. And I appreciate that you did that. Jay Pinkston writes, Meg should have been called Jurassic Shark. I don't know why nobody has said that before. I've never heard anybody say Jurassic Shark. That is kind of perfect. I mean, obviously they couldn't have done that, but that's actually kind of perfect. That was funny, Jay. Leo follows up. Thoughts on Mother? I love it. Great weird piece of art that should be celebrated. I love art that takes genuine risks. Why do you like it or dislike? Oh, I think it's a horrible movie. Horrible movie. That I appreciate very much. Look, I appreciate filmmakers that take risks. But that doesn't mean, to me, you acknowledge they took a risk, and when you take a risk, there is a risk of failure. That's what a risk is. You're risking failure. And I appreciate the risks that he did. However, the whole movie was metaphor, layered on top of another metaphor, layered on top of another metaphor, layered on top of another metaphor, layered on top of a metaphor, until it just disintegrates into this visual mess. And that's what it is. It's a visual mess. I understand what his metaphors were, and I understand what he was trying to convey. I get that, and I appreciate that. But it was a horrible mess. You still have to make... let's put it in terms of like a chef, right? You can take some bold, daring risks in making your plate and making your meal that you're going to present to somebody, right? But you still, no matter what risks you want to take, you have to make it in such a way that somebody can act, that it's actually palatable, that somebody can sit down and actually eat it. You can make the world's greatest stuffing, but if you stuff it inside poisonous eels, the consumer can't eat it because they will die. For whatever reason, they cannot eat it. You can make the world's greatest filet mignon and whatever, but you freeze it, you flash freeze it inside of molten steel. And you can put that in front of the consumer. It's like, well, Yeah, maybe it's the most delicious meal inside that molten steel, but I can't get at it. It's not palatable. I can't get, you've got it flash frozen inside molten steel. I can't get at it. To me, Mother is a great example of a piece of art that was never taken into consideration the ability for the audience to receive it on a palatable level. It's, again, I recognize what he's going for. I applaud him for going for it. And I applaud Paramount for giving him the leeway to really go for it like that. But at the end, it just ended up being a visual mess. Regardless of the risks he took, regardless of what he was going for. And believe me, I don't know that any other director could have done it any better. It was audacious what he was going for. Totally audacious. And I respect the fact that he went for it. But Mother was a hot mess of a movie. Just complete visual noise. That completely lost any meaning it could have had by layering the metaphors on top of metaphors on top of metaphors on top of metaphors on top of metaphors, and it just obscures the entire vision of the movie. It's another example of a badly marketed movie because they lied to the audience. They made the audience think it was one kind of a movie when it's really a totally different kind of a movie. But I know a couple of people that appreciated Mother. Most people I know hated it. I hated it. But I know a couple of people that had some appreciation for it. But again, I hate it while acknowledging that artistically, he really went for it. And I admire that. I do. But just because I admire it doesn't mean I give it a pass if it doesn't work. And to me, it didn't work. But anyway, that's just my thought on it. It's a movie people are going to be debating about for a long time, I think. Joe Byram writes, I think you should check out the Super Carlin Brothers video on how Loki is alive. It's kind of blew my mind. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there done by a lot of people saying a lot of different things. I don't have time to watch them all, but I'm glad you saw it and I'm glad to give you something to think about. Tony Tubes writes, I lost Tony. Where'd Tony go? Tony Tubbs writes, Showdown in Little Tokyo turns 27 today. Thoughts on the film? Okay, this is one of those times where I got to make sure it's the same film I'm thinking about. Showdown in Little Tokyo. Not the movie I was thinking. I was thinking about a totally different movie. This is why I double check. Okay, you're talking about the Brandon Lee, Dolph Lundgren thing. Awful. I thought it was awful. I thought it was a bad movie. With some fun, cheesy things in it, yes. The movie came out in 91, I think. Hold on a second, let me find out for sure. Okay, yeah, it says it came out in 91. Yeah, I gotta admit, I did not like it that much. I don't. I think I saw it maybe twice, both on home video. But yeah, I didn't think the movie was all that good, to be honest with you. But hey, there you go. Dirk Diggler writes, no TV/radio deal, eh? I know what it is. Changes in your studio mean that you're going to become a starship captain with 24th century computer. Nope. But it's funny, just before I started today's show, this afternoon show, I was on the phone with one of the other parties, and it looks like it's all coming together. Again, I can't announce what this is yet, but it does look like it's coming together. Again, manage expectations. John's not about to join Paramount Studios, right? Like, it's nothing like astronomical like that, but it's significant for somebody like me. But again, next week, I will be able to tell you guys what this deal is. If it doesn't work out, I'll still tell you what the deal was. And if it does work out, well, then I'll have to tell you what the deal is because you're going to see some changes coming here pretty soon. But I'm excited about the potential of it. Again, here's a situation. They've given me this offer. I went back to them and said, I can accept this if we have conditions A, B, C, D, and E. And if you guys can meet the conditions of A, B, C, D, and E, then we've got ourselves a deal. And that's the stage we're at right now. And like I said, I just got off the phone a little bit earlier today with one of the parties, and it looks like maybe it's heading in the right direction. Won't know for sure. I've got a big meeting on Tuesday night in Hollywood to see if we can make the deal happen. And if we do, great. And if we don't, no problem. These are really great people. I'm having a lot of fun even just talking to them. And I'll tell you guys all about it next week, but I just can't discuss it until it's either done or finished, And once that happens, I'll be able to tell you guys what it is. Leo Milmet writes, thoughts on terminally ill girl with 3 to 6 months left to live, wanting to know what happened in Avengers 4. You hear about that? No, I haven't heard about that. But it seems like with every, and this is kind of a heartwarming thing, it seems like with every major new high-profile pop culture explosion movie coming out, there are new stories that come out about a terminally ill person that really, I think it was The Force Awakens was one. I think that was the one where there was a guy, total Star Wars nut, wanted to see The Force Awakens. He was not going to make it to the opening of the film, and Lucasfilm let him see the film before anybody else. And he did pass away before the film opened, but he did get a chance to see it. And I feel like ever since then, there are these types of stories, and they're all great stories. There's these types of stories that come out around every significant film. So I am not familiar with this. I'm not familiar with this specific one, Leo, but here's hoping something can happen. Look, I don't think it's any studio's responsibility because, you do have to be careful. You do have to be careful. But I mean, if they can make some isolated situations like this become a reality for some people in some horrible circumstances, that's awesome. And and I think this will continue to be a thing that we'll probably see more and more of this as we go along with bigger tentpole films coming out. And if cool things can be done for some people in horrible situations, that's great. Let's see. Dirk Diggler writes, Captain Campea of the USS Campea. Well, USS stands for United States Ship Canada. So that's kind of an oxymoron. United States Ship Canada. No. Paul Richards writes, MoviePass at 2 cents. When's the next reverse stock split? Well, they got to do it soon. Well, first of all, they have to get permission from their shareholders to do it, right? But even now, hold a second, at 2 cents, even if they did a 250 reverse stock split again, the stock would just be $5. I mean, what they absolutely have to do is if they don't get their stock up to over $1, they run the risk of being delisted off the stock market. And then you might as well just close your doors. So this time, if they do a reverse stock split, they can't even do a 250 to 1. At minimum, they have to do a 500 to 1 or probably even a 1,000 to 1 stock split, which is horrible. Horrible. But even today, a 500 to 1 reverse stock split just gets your 250 to 1 would get you to $5, I think. So fine, but then you're still really close to that $1 mark, and you just risk dropping back down. Because remember, when they did the first reverse stock split of 250 to 1 reverse stock split, it got their stock up to $10 or $21, I mean. And in one day, it lost half its value and went right down to 10, and it's been falling ever since. So they got to do a significant stock split soon, and they have to do it soon, or else they run the risk of getting delisted. Donnie Yasu writes, hey, John, Anchorman or 40-Year-Old Virgin? 40-Year-Old Virgin. 40-Year-Old Virgin is my all-time favorite comedy. It's kind of tied as my all-time favorite comedy with Noises Off, the one with John Ritter, Christopher Reeve, Michael Caine, Carol Burnett, on and on and on. So Noises Off and 40-Year-Old Virgin are kind of tied for my all-time favorite comedy. Anchorman's up there, but it's not in the top 1 or 2. So yeah, 40-Year-Old Virgin to me is my all-time favorite comedy. So I'll go 40-Year-Old Virgin. Oreo Overlord, I love that name. Oreo Overlord writes, and we just got time for a couple more questions here, guys, because our hour is up. But sounds like you need a new chair, John. First of all, look, I need a new chair. Do you know what this is? You can't see it here. Hold on a second. This is one of the original AMC chairs. This chair I'm sitting in is one of the original chairs that we bought for AMC Movie Talk back when we had the black and red curtains behind us. And I picked out these chairs because they matched the black and red of the curtains, right? Black and red. And it's an old chair. It's an old chair. But so my wife has been on me for a long time. John, get a new chair. It's like, yeah, I got to get myself a new chair, but I'm cheap. And this one still works, but yeah, you're right. I probably should get a new one. Let's see. Leo Milmet writes, credit to Dakota Barber on the Cancer Kids story. Oh, was that brought up in the chat board? Yeah. I haven't heard about it, but I'm going to look that up because that's an interesting sounding story. Let's see. And the final email in here today comes us from Tiny Little Critics, who writes, hi, John. I'm Zoe. Nice to meet you, Joey. Me and my sister want to review Venom for our channel. I'm 7. She's 8. My dad says we're too young. Tell him we're not. Well, it all depends. If the movie is rated R, and we don't know yet. It might be rated R, might be rated PG-13. We don't know 100% for sure yet. If it's rated R, you're kind of out of luck, Zoe. I'm sorry to tell you, you're a little bit out of luck. Because then you can only go if one of your parents takes you. If it's PG-13, your parents may still not let you go. Here's what I would do. Sit down with your parents. Say, Mom, Dad, we need to have a family meeting. Sit on down. I'm calling an agenda. And on our agenda today, Mom and Dad, is Venom. Should Zoe and her sister be allowed to go see Venom? I propose the following, Mother and Father. I propose that when this movie opens on opening night in October, that Mom and Dad have a date night, and you guys go to see Venom. Now, this is only if the movie's rated PG-13. Say, I propose a compromise, Mom and Dad. You guys go see the movie on opening night by yourselves. Go have fun. But if you guys watch it and think, you know what? It's PG-13. Zoe and her sister can handle this. Then you take us to see it that weekend. So you and Mom go see it first. If you like it, and if you think we can handle it, then you agree to take us to go see it that weekend so we can review it. And if you think it's too much, fine, we respect that. What do you say, Mom and Dad? How about we wheel and deal? So I suggest making a compromise with them and seeing if it happens. But again, this all is predicated on the idea that it becomes rated PG-13, which it may or may not. They may be rated R, and if that's the case, then you got no wiggle room. Sorry about that. But if it isn't, maybe you got a little bit of wiggle room and you can talk your parents into a compromise. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Good luck to you. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Listen, don't forget, the John Campea Show will be back again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., our main show, talking all the movie news, stuff like that. Hope you guys are able to join us then. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.